Give them a shot to do what?
Guys, welcome to the HSP Countdown to AEW World's End. I'm Jeff Martin alongside with the Trendsetter Brian Berga. We're the Jersey Wrecking Crew, and we are on Give Us a Shot Network. We are live. We are powered by Fast Break Coffee and 24 Media. Trendsetter, there is so much to discuss. We're in 0 hour, and we're taking you to the top of the hour, almost the top of the hour, for the World's End pay-per-view, the final pay-per-view for AEW, and lots to discuss. And some of it's not even have to do with the match card tonight, Trendsetter. A lot of news coming out today with AEW. So we felt we wanted to go live for you guys today. And for all of you guys joining us, we are the Jersey Wrecking Crew. I'm Jeff Martin, and the Trendsetter is with me. Plus on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. And we are here on the Give Us a Shot Network. Like and subscribe. Looking forward to doing this. Maybe more often than not, but again, we felt we had to go live with all the news that came in, and we were going to do a recorded show, and boy, we had to have egg on our face had that happen because so much has happened this morning. Trendsetter, just looking at all this stuff going on here, that's the news within the matches themselves. I mean, a lot of stuff to get to. What's your first sentiment when you open up Twitter and you open up X and you find all this stuff going on, man? You just got to be going, AEW can't get out of their own way.
Not only that, also, man, we can't catch a break, can we? In terms of, you think it's just going to be talking about an event that's going to happen at AEW, one of their pay-per-views, World's End, and you wake up in the morning or less than 24 hours and you realize a lot of other stuff is going on, and you're like, wow. And that's where we made the decision. We can't really record this because who knows if things change from time to time. And with this card as well, a lot of things have changed within this card. So we've been previewing stuff that would be out to date anyway. So that's why we made the decision just go live for this one. Hopefully more down the road. But man, a lot can happen within 24 hours, and that's living proof of it. That's the wrestling world, basically.
So we've got changes to the card we'll get to in a little bit. We've got some news coming in with a AEW superstar potentially leaving. Well, maybe possibly on his way out already of the company and could be debuting in WWE pretty soon. Could that be Triple H's surprise for day one? We'll discuss that. And of course, the big AEW World Championship title match between MJF and Samoa Joe, where we might find who this devil is tonight. But you know what? You'd think on a normal day, all of that would be part of the big news that we're talking about right away, and we're going to lead it off with. But no, that's not it. It's more stuff going on in AEW outside of the ring, and it starts with Chris Jericho, someone both you and I hold in high esteem because of just the career that he's had, the way he's been able to, transform himself and adapt as a wrestler, which is huge, especially as you get older. And then news coming out today. Well, let's sidetrack a little bit. So around Christmas Day, the whole CM Punk debuting at MSG, all the positive vibes going on in WWE right now, and Ace Steel let it be known that they have signed NDAs. So everything that went on at Brawl Out almost a year and a half ago really can't be discussed by them, the Bucks, Omega, CM Punk, anyone who's in that room, except Ace Steel's wife, Lucy. And so basically, that's the gist of it. Maybe one day she'll tell a story, and I think once this dies down and a few years down the road when they want to make money off of this thing, she'll probably speak. But in no way did this ever involve Chris Jericho. But on Christmas Day, he decides to put himself in the whole situation. Comes out with a couple of things where I don't adhere to the handbook, this and that. And then CM Punk and Ace Steel's attorney comes out, tries to get the best of Jericho. Jericho turns into a tirade, all this. If you thought that was just the story right there, it doesn't end right there, because this morning you wake up and you see Nick Hausman, who had a few things to say on his podcast, Rumor and Innuendo. He talks about Chris Jericho is not the saint, and even compared him to Harvey Weinstein, which is a pretty tough thing to do. You know what I mean? You got to have some pretty decent, credible evidence of why you would compare him to such a monster. And then all of a sudden, someone on Twitter follows it up trying to compare it to the Kylie Ray situation. That's the name that we haven't heard in a long time, who was there in the beginning of AEW, and she left, never disclosed why, but she was given her release. And then they attached the whole Chris Jericho, Kylie Ray incident, which supposedly she was led into a room where Chris Jericho's dressing room. No one was there. Chris Jericho allegedly made advances at her. She tried to talk to Tony Khan. And mind you, they were in the midst of a TV deal with TNT. Who's going to believe her? If we fire Chris Jericho now, we might lose a TV deal. Here's our only star. Big allegations. And then to top it all off, Kylie Ray, who's kept quiet, who's taken a break from wrestling, has come back, has had a baby, liked the post. And then everybody went nuts. And now AEW's in a situation where, Trendsetter, we were talking about leadership, and there is a huge issue here because you have the inmates running into the asylum.
Can you easily say it's gone from bad to worse over there in terms of everything that's going on? For me, what I looked at when I heard the initial beginning when Jericho got in that tirade with the lawyer, I was like, okay, what's going on here? It's very unusual. Why would you give attention to somebody who wouldn't have any clout to talk about and put yourself in that conversation? So with that, and then obviously the comparison to Harvey Weinstein, and then you're like, wait, where's this coming from? We're thinking this is just a full blown attack on Chris Jericho in terms of what he's done. And let's be honest, everyone has skeletons in their closet to a certain degree in this business, right? So something like that wouldn't be surprising. Look at Vince McMahon, right? Look what he's done in his career, and people are just like, I'm not shocked by it, and don't really necessarily make it a big deal when it's talked about because it's kind of known amongst just people in that type of life or platform or type of career that they're in, that things like that may or may not be true. And then the whole Kylie Ray thing, and then people pitting things together and kind of making sense of, okay, well, this could be it. And listen, at the end of the day, a like from a post is a like from a post. It's really easy to draw attention to it and draw conclusions from it as well. I'm sure people have viable sources that are telling them certain things, and we're not fully aware of that as well. We're just going by what we're hearing and trying to discuss it and trying to make sense of the whole situation. But man, in terms of a situation where AEW, in the beginning had so much momentum going its way and they really could do no wrong. And even if they did, people would overlook it very easily because of just the excitement of what AEW represented and what it could possibly have been in the future during that time. And now you see how things are kind of switching around where AEW had the scenario with CM Punk and obviously the brawl out scenario that happened backstage. And it seemed from there, it was just a lot of negativity around the promotion, a lot of negativity around the people in the back of how people were distraught and upset about certain things or people choosing sides. Now you're seeing a lot of people are showing their frustrations and AEW's way of handling people who are, let's say, unhappy creatively in that company. And then you look at WWE in terms of what they've done in terms of taking the negative of what CM Punk did when he walked out of the company several years ago, more than several years ago, and now his return, the way they've spun it, the likelihood of the rumors of people possibly returning. And you said in the beginning, they seem to be riding a huge tidal wave of momentum, of positivity, of wow, look at this, and what's the next thing? And it's just positive all the way around in terms of what's going for them business-wise, viewership-wise, and leading into what we know as WrestleMania season. And AEW is now taking, I wouldn't say a downward spiral, but it's really, the pedals are off the rose basically here. It's really not looking well from attendance to comments that Tony Khan has made when they've discussed, business and how well AEW is doing in terms of attendance in their locations of buildings and events to now this, my goodness. I mean, talk about something that started so well and was so genuine in terms of the enthusiasm behind it. And now a lot of layers are being peeled over right now in terms of it. And it's causing a lot of perceptions back then to kind of change now and skew. Whether we're talking about Chris Jericho, Tony Khan, or the company in general, it's really done a 180 right now.
So totally agree with all that, and especially now with the TV deal where it was addressed by Tony Khan in the media call for World's End, talking about kind of saying now that there's a lot of interest in AEW by other entities. So that's the first time they've talked about that. That's the first time they've thought outside of Warner Brothers. So where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'll probably use that term a lot here on this show because there's just that saying just justifies a lot of stuff that we'll be talking about here. And so they talked about that. So now they have potential to most likely lose their TV deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. So that's definitely not good news. And now you get this news with Chris Jericho, who obviously, listen, in this business or whatever you do, your skeletons are going to come out. If you're Vince McMahon, they just come out, 20, 30 years later? Eventually it's going to come out. You are not a Teflon Don. You're not above anything. You're not. And you're going to get, discovered. They're going to find out about you. It depends. If the media was sitting on this story since 2019, which we heard about it, and nothing was done, it's because Tony Khan was really playing to the media, placating to them, giving them access. And why are you going to say anything bad about AEW when you're getting all this access? So we're wrong on that aspect as far as the media wise. Am I going to blame myself and you? No, because we don't have that access like the major news journalists, wrestling journalists do have. But for those that didn't, shame on you. And then to pick your spot now, to me, it's just sad. It really is. And as far as tonight, I'm going to tell you right now, Chris Jericho.
So, Jeff, sorry, don't mean to interrupt you though. It could be sad though, but it's not far fetched or not believable in terms of people at the end of the day are always going to look out for their best interest, right? And so, why would you go about and not just protect yourself? That's
like I said,
it's
because
not surprising.
You're getting access to a brand new company, a company that's on fire because it was all based on a feeling, and it was the alternative to WWE. We were getting tired of WWE, of Vince McMahon and his booking, and this was something new, something fresh. And these guys are giving you access. And we believed in Young Bucks. We believed in Cody's vision and Kenny's vision. And there's going to be something different. And that feeling is gone. It's wiped away 5 years later because MJF said AEW turns 5 on Monday. And look where it's at now. And I love MJF, and I love how heartfelt he was in his message on The Athletic, talking about AEW and everyone that's trying to make it good and great. But there's some people that just have not. And like I said, I'm going to tell you right now, Chris Jericho should not be on this card. He should be pulled. And if you're going to go and have a media scrum like you're going to have tonight, I've seen everybody, it's still going on. If you're going to have that, you're going to have a PR nightmare on your hands. And for all the wrestling journalists, I'm telling you right now, do your job. Don't kiss up to the wrestlers tonight. Don't be a mark for yourselves. Don't get yourself over. Don't be there oohing and on for Bryan Danielson and saying how great you are. Go do your job. The first question should be, what are your thoughts on the Chris Jericho stuff that went on today on social media, that blew up social media, that's superseded your pay-per-view tonight? You're going to end 2023 on such an awful note, and then you're not going to address it. Wrestling journalists, do your job. That's all I got to say on that. And Chris Jericho should not be on this card tonight. And I'm sorry for the people that are there tonight to see Chris Jericho perform. But if you're not aware of it or you've been living under a rock, these are serious things that even if they're rumors, Chris Jericho cannot head into the ring tonight. And that's just plain and simple.
All right, Jeff. So wouldn't you say it's a catch-22 though? So if Chris Jericho does go out and he is scheduled to appear, and they haven't said they're going to pull him, and he goes there and does a press conference, and they ask him the question, and he declines or says moves on to the next question. Does it encourage the fact that he doesn't talk about these rumors because he doesn't want to address them because he doesn't want to give individuals or rumors clout or momentum?
How many times does Tony Khan say, I cannot address it, or I cannot address the situation right now? It's just plain and simple. If you're going to have Chris Jericho on there, you better damn be at the media scrum and take it like
it's not.
And if he's not, then shame on the PR team. Then they have bigger problems than they already do have, because it starts from the top to the bottom to the middleman, which is the PR team, which should know better. And if this is something that they feel there should be no media scrum, hey, due to unforeseen situations, stuff they can't address right now, we're canceling the media scrum, and that's it. The journalists got a free comp there. They're there for free, whatever. So they're not going to be there till 2 a.m. for a press conference. Tough. But you have to handle the situation. And Chris Jericho cannot be on the card tonight. Plain and simple.
From a company standpoint, though, say they do pull him, then is that them admitting the fact that these rumors that are going on, these speculations that are going around right now, are accurate? Are you now giving them clout that they're dictating now your show? I'm trying to be the other person out there tries to give that perspective.
Totally stop the hemorrhaging. Stop the hemorrhaging before it bleeds out entirely. That's what I'm trying to say. Because by being silent and saying we still have to gather the information, but we take these matters seriously. Look, I sound like a PR myself. Hire me, AEW. We don't we take
Good
these
luck.
we don't take these matters lightly, and we will, upon further investigation, we will not have that. We will not make Chris Jericho available for access right now, and this and that. But you know that if you do have the media scrum, they're going to ask you about that. The wrestling journalist should do that. Like I said, don't let the clown journalist who used to do with the puppets and all that get himself over. Tonight, it's about what is going on, the rumors and allegations. If you don't address it, shame on you, and you'll have less credibility in front of the world, because that's what you should be asking. But I'm surprised that they're having this media scrum, so shame on them. And then, that's it, man. I mean, it's just a lack of leadership all around, and it's just sad to see what's going on in AEW right now. And hey, look, we haven't even discussed the card, which honestly, that's not what even people are really talking about right now. They're not.
You're right. They're not talking about this card right now. So something that you and I had planned earlier on the week to discuss and break down, maybe a couple of days before. Thankfully we thought a little bit later on to do it because we wanted to see if things had changed, or there are any possible rumors of returns, or who the devil might be in terms of the real that might happen tonight. Most likely will happen tonight. So it also showcases the fact, Jeff, that within this industry, you're saying it yourself too, and I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with you here. In the scenario where, like, you should pull Chris Jericho from this card. People have been pulled from this card too, due to any undisclosed reason, and the media scrum too. Listen, all this can be done. All this, for example, you can cancel media scrum. You can pull Chris Jericho off the card. You cannot address it. If it is addressed and people ask Tony Khan the question because Chris Jericho is not there, he'll say cannot discuss it this time, and they move on. I just feel from this standpoint right now, if this is the main thing that we're talking about right now, and all the negativity and the losing and lack of momentum that AEW has gotten in the last couple of months, and they're turning 5 now too, not a very good sign, the fact that we're more interested in this than the actual card, which also implicates the fact of how AEW is going about building this card. You asked me earlier before we started doing this, like, hey, so what do you think about it? And before we break it down, I can honestly say I wasn't too impressed with the card. I really wasn't, because of the lack of inconsistency in terms of storytelling, the lack of inconsistency in terms of what direction are certain characters going. It doesn't make a lot of sense right now. And I'm sure this sounds, a lot of people are listening to this and say, oh, you're just hating on it. And no, I'm just kind of stating the fact of there seems to be a lot of confusion going on. And maybe part of that is due to leadership going on, whether it's, Tony Khan himself or people in the back that are in those positions to provide leadership. Just seems to be like a little chaotic right now in terms of if you're in that locker room.
So we're counting it down for you guys here. We're powered by Fast Break Coffee and 24 Media. We're taking you till at least the top of the hour. Before that, get you ready for World's End today. 0 Hour is in progress right now. We had Will Nightingale defeat Chris Statlander in that match. It's one of the matches that were sprung up in the last few days. All right, so let's get to another one that obviously has controversy, and that's because of the news breaking out in the last hour or so about somebody potentially leaving the company tonight and then making their WWE debut imminently. And we're talking about like in just a few days on Monday Night Raw for Raw Day 1. And that is, let's talk about the match between Miro and Andrade El Idolo. So basically, here's the situation from last we found out. It looks like Andrade is going to wrap up with the company tonight. And as far as we're concerned, there's no non-compete. So he could actually be at Day 1 on Monday night. He could actually show up on Raw. And not to mention this, here's another situation which is messy. He just told the company he doesn't want to be with them anymore. He was done on Wednesday. And basically what we know now is that it's a messy situation. It's a messy situation because they know where he's going. This is like a Rick Rude all over again, except the opposite way now. Smart move by Triple H, if this is indeed what's going to happen. But how about this? Not knowing that your own guy is leaving here, not holding him off at least for another week, making him sign an extension. And now you have the chance that Andrade leaves tonight, which most likely is the case, as Wrestle Purist broke the news that he's done tonight. And he could show up on Raw. Again, that's just total, just a lack of just knowing what's going on with your contract situation. How could you let this happen? It's just another bad sign for AEW getting into this pay-per-view.
Well, in terms of Andrade, if this is the case and he's moving on to WWE after wrapping up things with AEW, it couldn't be the best move he could have possibly made. You couldn't have made a better move than that, because now, because of the restraints of what he dealt with his first run, obviously went to NXT, came up to the main roster, and Vince McMahon and creative really not knowing what to do with him or carrying the momentum that he had in his time in NXT, which was run by Triple H. Now, Triple H is running the helm here. So it would make a lot of sense for him to work with somebody he's comfortable with, somebody who has an idea of his character, where he wanted to go, what the potential was for him, because he's a former NXT champion too. Had an amazing, not an amazing, but had a really great reign as champion, thinking, man, when this guy goes to the main roster, it's going to be really, really good. So now there are options for him there to do it. But also for the mere fact that what AEW has done and allowed him and not really put in a compete clause there for him to kind of hold him back from any momentum he might gain after World's End that leads into him possibly going to WWE. Just shows you there are two things, in my opinion, Jeff, that no one's paying attention and aware of the situation, which is really a bad sign. Or secondly, it's showcasing what they think of Andrade in terms of his value, which again is also a bad slight on them, because if you looked at him and don't think he's much value in terms of putting in a non-compete clause, then why'd you sign him in the first place? Why'd you give him the money in the first place to bring him in if you didn't expect for him to be an impact? But then the frustration we're getting, and again, this is typical in terms of the world of professional wrestling or any place in general. When you're working someplace and you're not believing that you're being used to your best potential, that's when frustrations lie in. That's where people are like, well, I'm better off going somewhere else where they appreciate me or they know what to do with me. And Andrade is not in that situation because honestly, there's nothing Andrade has done. And this isn't a slight on him because when I have seen a lot of his matches, and the last one I can remember is him and Bryan Danielson, Andrade is very, very good in the ring. He is a bona fide stud in the ring, in my opinion. It's just that connection with the audience, which I think his best ability was his second, not second run, but his second version of himself when he was in NXT that drew that attention. Obviously, he had a mouthpiece in Selena Vega at that time, and a lot of people were starting to kind of connect a little bit or at least be invested in Andrade. And the scenario, best business decision for him to make right now, working with a guy in Mira who at the same time has found himself in purgatory in terms of we don't know where that character is going, where the storyline's going. All we know is that Andrade can wrap it up here, and best move he can possibly make, if it is true, is go to WWE.
And again, situation where you book CJ Perry with Andrade and he's leaving. So where does that leave CJ Perry, who hopefully she's all better now from her infection with her finger and everything. So we wish her a speedy recovery. But where does that leave her? Or did they just scrap this whole angle? Because this has gone absolutely nowhere. It's not been interesting at all. So that's what it looks like it's going to happen. To me, is what I would do and just start fresh off of this. But again, though, to not be aware that he's leaving, or to know and not try to wrap this up and make him sign a little bit of an extension to stay. Listen, a big factor definitely is his wife is in WWE, Charlotte Flair. He should, he was released during the McMahon era with the whole COVID situation. So, he wanted to be released. He got it. But now, he's back, and we'll see if Triple H will book Andrade better. That's what we'll see what happens. But it looks like he's going back to WWE. So then we have that news, right? Which again, that's going to be crazy talking about, post show tonight. People are going to be talking about what's up with Andrade. That's probably what Tony Khan will be asked about in this media scrum. Let's go. We find out now, breaking news, 0 hour, that Luchasaurus Killswitch has won the 20-man battle royal. So basically he'll have a shot at the TNT championship anytime, any place, anywhere, which is kind of interesting because who's got that TNT championship as of now? Christian Cage. Who's going to add a little bit more dynamic into that, should retain the title against Adam Copeland. Let's talk about that one. A one that I'm looking forward to is probably this one. Edge, Adam Copeland against Christian Cage, who's honestly, when we do our award show, is a nominee for the Heel of the Year. What a great job done by Christian Cage. And what a surprise, Trendsetter. A story with two WWE guys that actually I'm looking forward to watching on an AEW show. Go figure. But we've seen everything now with Nick Wayne's mom, and unfortunately that's what she's going to be now, Nick Wayne's mom. Her joining her son again with Christian Cage, the matriarch. That's just interesting dynamic, but you got to love what Christian Cage has done. This match is going to be entertaining, but I see Christian Cage walking away still champion.
Well, now that Killswitch or Luchasaurus, as whichever name he wants to go by now, I guess it's Killswitch, has won, it definitely causes you to think now, at least leading up to the pay-per-view, that wow, maybe things could change. Listen, how I feel about Christian, we can talk about during the end of the year show in terms of the Heel of the Year and whether he deserves it or not. Well, my opinion and your opinion are on it. Speaking of this directly, though, I think he's done a great job with the fact that I wouldn't say myself personally the TNT title has elevated itself because of its connection with Christian Cage, but I think Christian has gone about making you want to believe and be interested in the things that he's doing. Leading up to this now the supposed, idea or the, smart booking, as they say, would be, oh, now, Christian's going to win and they'll move on from the storyline and, Adam Edge will be chasing again, or maybe they'll separate and come back at another time. Or he wins, but he doesn't win the title, or, some schmoz, whatever. Now with Killswitch winning, it gives you the idea, wow, if that's the scenario, now you could have something where Killswitch turns on Christian Cage, or the mere fact that Adam Copeland could win this. So it gives you the scenario where it's not as predictable. So that's what I like about this. I will have to agree with you, though. I don't see it happening. I think Christian Cage will be victorious in this one. And at the mere fact where Adam Copeland goes from here, who knows? Maybe maybe they'll continue the story down the road, but at the same time, he might move on somewhere else.
Yeah, I think this is going to be long-term storytelling at its best. I think that this one is going to last a little bit. And again, that dynamic with Killswitch now becoming the number one contender for the TNT Championship, I think that's going to add to it. So I can see a little bit long-term booking here, and still seeing Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, maybe one more match here. It's a no DQ, so anything can happen here. So I'm going to go with Christian Cage. You got Christian Cage too. Someone who is nominated for Breakthrough on the female side, and that's Toni Storm. She's defending the AEW World Championship, the Women's Championship, against Rio. I've made it known how I feel about Rio. I mean, it's just, to me, I don't see it, and they're very high on her. A lot of people find her entertaining. I don't find that aspect of her. I don't get her. But I do get Toni Storm, and she's up there as one of our nominees for female breakthrough performer, and she's just doing it amazingly with that gimmick. She's killing it, and I don't see a reason why to take that title off of her, especially when you have someone like Thunder Rosa who's waiting in the wings, who's come back. I love to see that rematch soon. So in that aspect, plain and simple, I think Toni Storm walks away and still.
I agree. I'm not going to add too much more in this in terms of what Toni Storm has done now with this new character, how she's embraced it, and the scenarios where, you make the best out of what you have and you think outside the box. And this whole new spin on Toni Storm's character, her evolution of what she's done in terms of not just necessarily being a very standard cookie cutter, this is what a professional wrestler or female wrestler looks like or supposed to act. Now you have some layers behind it, which always leaves for intriguing television, for people to be interested in a division that has lacked a lot of momentum since its very inception in AEW, Jeff. So this is a great light on the women's division. And you just mentioned Thunder Rosa. That's a story. That's a story that kind of writes itself in terms of what happened when Thunder Rosa took time off due to a back injury, coming back, and the roads could lead to those two squaring off at some point down the road. But man, what a better way in doing it. I don't see Toni Storm losing the title. She's victorious and still after the end of the night.
So one thing Tony Khan mentioned in the media call for World's End is that they're going to be very active in free agency when it comes to female talents. Somebody that could be maybe potentially now, maybe back in the fold is maybe a Mercedes Moné, who looks like deals have fallen through with WWE, so she could be back in the picture. Or people like Deonna Purrazzo, et cetera, as free agents coming up in 2024. It could bolster up the division. When I mean that is the TBS Championship too, because Julia Hart has been killing it. She also is a breakthrough performer nominee in the female division too. So by adding more female to the women's division, I think it'll make it better. And someone's got a shot due to the lack of depth has been Abaddon, and she gets a shot at Julia Hart's TBS Championship. And again, though, here's the issue. I just think that while Abaddon is a great story, and I'm glad she's got TV time, Julia Hart's on fire as well. She's progressing. She's been pushed well. I like her gimmick. I get her. Abaddon, I don't need to get because she just scares the freak out of me, right? So with all due respect, though, that's not enough for me to think that Abaddon has a chance here. And again, it's just, to me, it's just matches put together, and I'm going on gut feeling here. I don't think that they want to take that title off of Julia Hart. So that's why I think she walks away and still.
Again, in agreement with you, I don't think they're going to take the title off of Julia Hart in terms of Abaddon listen, I'll give credit where credit is due. She does scare the hell out of anybody, right? But it's the reality of the situation is too. It's that listen, taking nothing away from Rio or Abaddon or these people we put in these matches, even the respects of a Chris Statlander. But when you're just putting people in, which is what it feels like sometimes, especially if I'm just singling out the women's division, you're just putting names together, and sometimes it feels that it's just names thrown up in the air. Whatever names land face up are the ones you're going to put together, and that's great and all, but it doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of what we're talking about. We're going to want to have you interested in it. I'm interested in it. I think Julia Hart has a lot of potential and want to see her go further with this. So that's why, in the sense of matches being predictable, this feels predictable to me. Julia Hart's going to retain.
All right, we're going to get to the FTW title match between Wheeler Utah and Hook, but that's in progress now. So if we bail out of here, you're not going to see it, though. So I'm going to just say Hook will retain that. Wheeler Utah, again, does nothing for me. So I'd rather have Hook go over here.
Yeah, true, too. I mean, Wheeler don't really understand, don't get. Hook's more of an intriguing guy, so I'm all for Hook right now. Wheeler, whatever. I'm sorry. Hate to say that.
Black Combat Club, let's be honest, is to me one of the most overrated factions I've ever seen in the history of pro wrestling.
Had
They have
potential.
a bunch of good individuals, but just joined together, they've just been not successful at all. I mean, zero. Now, another person who I think is another candidate for the breakthrough on the men's side, and that's Swerve Strickland. A little surprised he didn't make it to the finals of the Continental Classic. Really surprised he didn't. But now he's supposed to take on Keith Lee. But now, due to injury, and it's unfortunate for Keith Lee, in goes Dustin Rhodes, and we get Dustin Rhodes and Swerve Strickland. Listen, there's no way that Swerve Strickland's momentum should be derailed because of Dustin Rhodes. All due respect, the natural one. But again, this is a situation where, like, why are you going to kill the momentum from Swerve? I got Swerve winning this.
That's Swerve winning this too. Again, this goes to more predictability. That the whole Keith Lee situation, at least there was some story somewhat in terms of the history they've had with each other. Now Keith Lee's on the sideline. Dustin Rhodes, just like the gamer and the company guy that he is going to jump in there. I mean, I love the natural. I love Dustin Rhodes, but don't really see him stopping the momentum and stopping the trajectory of a guy like Swerve Strickland. So I got Swerve winning this one.
All right, Trendsetter, we got the 8-man tag, which involves Chris Jericho here. And, I mean, I'm surprised that he's going to be involved in this, but he is. Him and Sammy Guevara get back together, and it's going to be Sting and Darby Allin against Big Bill, Ricky Starks, Will Hobbs, and filling in for Kyle Fletcher is going to be Konosuke Takeshita. And, again, this matchup, again, is just, to me, is just put together. Who should get momentum? I think it should be the team of Ricky Starks and Big Bill and Konosuke Takeshita, right? I think that, and I know you're thinking Jim Cornette. I know you are. So
I love the way you're saying his name correctly.
yeah, because it's so easy to say the way Jim Cornette does. But I got them beating Jericho Guevara and Sting and Darby.
All right, this is where we disagree. I have the prior to what we've been talking about, what's happened in the span of 24 hours, I would lean it more towards Jericho's team coming victorious in this one because they have taken a lot of L's. And the whole Sammy Guevara and the,
oh my God,
like what happened here? They hated each other and never went anywhere. Yeah, they went. They started being enemies now, bitter enemies. Didn't go anywhere, and now they're hugging it out and doing the poses again, the sexy beasts or whatever they call themselves. And but anyway, I think that's the case. It's going to happen where those two are that team's going to kind of victorious because again, farewell Swan, farewell tour, and I think that's going to indeed what's going on.
All right, we got an all-star 8-man match between the losers. Let's just say the losers of the Continental Classic. But you got Bryan Danielson, Claudio. If anyone should have just one name, it should be Claudio. And Mark Briscoe and Daniel Garcia against Roosh, Jay White, Jay Lethal, and Brody King. Who's going to win that matchup? Hey, listen, man, I'm going to think Danielson, Claudio get the victory for that team.
I don't. I'm actually against it because not only do I think Bryan Danielson's a hypocrite, but I think in the scenario here where there's so much momentum being built up with him individually outside the Combat Club, I just think I just don't see them come out victorious tonight.
Yeah, man, I do. I think they're just going to throw them a bone and the babyface team wins. That's just how I would book that, and I think that they'll go and get the victory there. So
Well, answer me this question, Jeff. Who is the babyface team? Who is the babyface? Who's heel now? I have no idea.
Well, I mean, it would common sense would say Brian Danielson and Claudio would be the babyface team. So I got them winning here. So the Continental Classic losers, they get put in a match, and we were picking the winners for you there in that match too. All right, Trendsetter. So as we approach now the top of the hour, let's do the finals of the Continental Classic. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Why Jon Moxley needs this, I don't know. Swerve Strickland should have been in here. And Eddie Kingston, everyone's pulling for Eddie Kingston. You know what? I'm going to say Eddie Kingston pulls off the upset. Jon Moxley will put his friend over here big time, and Eddie Kingston becomes what everyone hates to be, and then he becomes a franchise. He becomes a dynasty. He becomes the New York Yankees. So I'm going to say that Eddie Kingston gets the victory here.
I've never seen a underdog more revered and so celebrated as Eddie Kingston in terms of the crowd really wanting him to gain success. It's so easy to call him the bum. So easy to call him, someone who's not committed, whether it be physically, athletically, emotionally, whatever the case might be. And I just never seen a scenario like this. When you looked at this card and you looked at Eddie Kingston, the road he had to take to get here, I defy anybody to tell me that they looked at Eddie Kingston and said, he's got this all the way to the finals. No way, in terms of the level of competition he was dealing with, he was facing. So that is surprising in itself. I would have to agree. Jon Moxley, after Eddie Kingston doing the favors for him and obviously putting him over several times, especially on AEW television when they battled for the title, I see Jon Moxley not really needing this either. And the scenario where Jon Moxley, when you look at the history of a 5-year history that we're approaching with AEW, has kind of done everything there needs to be done in AEW right now.
That's very true.
Doesn't need the championship, doesn't really need these victories. He does it, in my opinion, for passion, love. He loves doing what he does. He says he'll do it until the wheels fall off. And from the way Jon Moxley wrestles, it's not going to take very long for those wheels. I mean, those wheels are rusted right now, and they're going to fall off pretty soon, in my opinion, if he keeps going this route. But he does because that's the only way he knows how to go. And there's no better match. I think this might be a show steal just for the fact that there's no such better way than to kick your best friend's butt. And both of them like each other so much, love each other. They're like family, and they're going to beat the hell out of each other for our entertainment. But I have Eddie Kingston coming out victorious, which I'm sure, like I said in the beginning, when this whole tournament started, which they tried to make it, in my opinion, similar to the G1, never thought Eddie Kingston would be at this point. But hey, he has this connection with the audience. They love him. They're rooting for him, and they want him to succeed.
Yeah, especially since losing the first two, so he had to come all the way from the bottom and make it to the top. Hey, it sounds like a song. Should be a song. All right, Trendsetter. We got now the matchup that we're all talking about here. Of course, MJF and Samoa Joe for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. This could be MJF's due to injury. A lot of people are pointing this matchup being the one where he will drop the title to Samoa Joe just because, hey, man, the guy is playing hurt. Guy's been had a tremendous year. MJF is a top nominee for the Wrestler of the Year for the HSP Awards coming on January 3rd because you have to move that up as well. Not on the 29th anymore. Just so much happened that we have to push it to January 3rd where we'll have the show for you guys on the Give Us a Shot Network. And Samoa Joe, who kind of aligned himself with the Devil, worked with him last Wednesday night, cost MJF the ROH Tag Team titles to, I guess, the Devil's Workers, I guess. It's crazy to think that after all that MJF has been through, he got hit with a pipe and then lost the titles to these no-name guys, which talks about the booking going on with AEW. So nonetheless, the championship is on the line, the World Championship. We had a heartfelt tribute, a penned letter from MJF on the Players Tribune. Really got a lot off his chest, but basically the guy is playing hurt. And, the contract is coming up. Think about 2024 is already going to be here before you know it.
Yeah.
And the contract allegedly is up, although we think that he's already re-signed, but he's making it sound like he doesn't know what's going to happen, what the future holds. But I got to think tonight, no matter what, he is walking away the champion. Just because when we find out who the Devil is tonight, which I'm going to predict to you now as we wrap up, it's Adam Cole. It's going to set up that match. Now, Adam Cole, again, I'm not saying this is going to be a short-term injury. It's taken a while for him to come back here, so I don't know what they're going to do. I just don't see. I think We'll know tonight if MJF is re-signed, if he walks away with the title. If he walks away, he's re-signed. There is no bidding war of 2024, which I believe was just total sham anyways. The way he's talking about the company, the way he's just going gaga over it. I don't like this MJF. I like the heel MJF, but wrap it all in a ribbon. I think he's walking away still the champion. Some way, somehow, he's gonna prove him wrong and walk away the champion.
I hate the fact that we're agreeing and everything on this, except for one match.
Well, man, it's really you don't have to put much thought in this.
No, you don't have to put much thought in it. And in scenarios, if we want to believe what was said before in terms of MJF has been signed several months prior to this whole scenario going, I think early on, a lot of people wanted to believe it. I think part of me wanted to believe it as well, because in the scenario where MJF's your top guy, he's the young rising star within the company in terms of everyone was looking at him prior to him being the champion as should be the face or the overblown, saying they had with the 4 pillars of AEW, which is so overdrawn. I think in the scenario too, you had no choice but to resign him to keep him. But if we're going to go from a storyline standpoint and all these odds stacked against him, it'd be great to see him victorious. It would make sense if he wasn't resigning. This would be the perfect now way of taking the title off him if he does decide to check the waters and see if the grass is green on the other side. Doesn't mean he can't resign if that's the case.
Did he resign? Let's be honest. In your opinion, has he resigned?
I think he's resigned. If it's not the case, though, I think right now the way the scenario is, if you're looking at it from a realistic standpoint, let's say he didn't resign. Let's say this is a way to get him off TV until he makes a decision. Like he was thrown off TV when he made that he dropped that pipe bomb on Tony Khan, right? And he was gone for a while. We didn't know what was going on with MJF. I think this is the best scenario in terms of coming up with a decision or wanting to kind of reintroduce him, because you say he's playing hurt. So it's a great way of taking him on TV and letting him heal up a little bit if he does come back, which I think he will, because I think he's already signed.
I like that.
I don't know if this also indicates the fact that I think even if there was a potential talk between the two, which a lot of people have reported there hasn't been really, I don't think would be the right time. Maybe 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months ago, it was a great time for him to come in. But now CM Punk's come back. There looks like we could talk about WTV further on during other shows, but you just see the momentum WWE is taking right now in terms of where they're leading towards WrestleMania season. I think a lot of what they have storyline pitted wise leading towards WrestleMania is already set in stone. So if you brought somebody like MJF, he's just going to be on the outskirts looking in. And I think, no offense to the developmental brand of NXT, but I think he's just too talented to go to NXT if he needed to. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
have to be a main roster guy.
Yeah, so I agree with everything you say, but I won't agree with the outcome. I think Samoa Joe will come out victorious in this one.
All right.
Adam Cole, I think, is the devil. And storyline wise, I think he's the devil as well. I'm joking. Adam Cole's a great guy.
Well, here's the thing: had he not gotten hurt, it would have been a clear cut. He's the devil, right?
Yeah.
Jeff getting his comeuppance, so I can see where they swerve. But you have to be careful here because you have to hit a home run with this, and it's tough to see who could it be. It could be a guy outside of WWE. It could be a guy outside of AEW. It could be one of the free agents that is not there. It could be a Dolph Ziggler, right? Maybe with everything going on, maybe today Mercedes Moné shows up tonight. You don't know. And as before we head off, Wheeler Utah, to no one's surprise, loses to Hook. I mean, there's Bland, and then there's below Bland, which is Wheeler Utah. Okay?
Real quick, Jeff. And I'll let you finish. I just want to throw this in here too. You say it has to be a home run. A home run's dependent on how people are interpreting it.
Oh.
To me, I just need to make sense.
There you go.
If it makes sense to me, it's a home run. If it's Mercedes Moné, what the heck? It doesn't make any sense. If it's a Dolph Ziggler, if it's an Adam, there has to be some ability of why they're doing this for the reason. If they can present that to us, then it's a home run.
Eric Bischoff said it perfectly, and to me, that guy is really great. He says the audience has to, not because I interviewed him and we're cool with each other.
You love Eric Bischoff.
I've learned to respect that man. I hated him back in the 90s, but I respect that man. It's gotta answer why. If the fan knows why this is happening, then they'll believe it. And I think right now, the way their booking's been, there's got to be a good why this is the devil, right? So we think it's Adam Cole. You got Samoa Joe. I got MJF. But I like your thinking, man. Take him off TV. Make people still wonder if he's signing or not. But we think he's signed. So there you go. You got everything. You got our predictions. You got our previews. Remember, the next time we see you will be January 3rd. It'll be 2024 for our HSP End of the Year Award Show for 2023. We will talk about everything that happened in 2023 and give out some awards. And it'll be here on Give Us a Shot Network. So make sure you subscribe and you like and you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on a great award show. I think we'll have our tuxes ready and pressed for that night on a big night here and a momentous night, which is powered by Fast Break Coffee and 24 Media. Again, guys, enjoy the show. They're a little bit past the, if you legally distribute this, you're going to go to jail. Little warning. So I think they're past that and they're in the opening match. But it's been fun. We appreciate you guys joining us. We'll do more of these too in the future. But again, January 3rd, HSP will be back here on the Give a Shot Network with our end of the year 2023 award show. Make sure it's going to be a lot of fun. We love doing this for you guys. And then we'll have a lot of stuff going on. And into 2024, man, so much going on. We'll have our predictions as well. But the thing is going to be interesting tonight. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens, how they adjust the whole Chris Jericho situation, what happens with Andrade. So tonight, if you're going to watch a mess outside of it, then you're going to want to tune into this pay-per-view and watch it World's End. Guys, it's been great. Trendsetter, as always, man, wrap it up as the only way that you know how to, buddy.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening and following us. Make sure you follow us on all social media. Thank you so much for joining here. For The Scoundrel, I am the Trendsetter, Brian Berga. We are and forever will be known as the Jersey Wrecking Crew. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Remember, we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.
Wrestling journalists, do your job tonight. Ask the questions.